Hi, it's Denise. I just want to say happy 1st of August. We're going to jump right into this. A little bit laggy today, but it's getting better. Okay, so we are on an endeavor. We are going to be discussing sociology. One of my good friends, I say family, but what I really mean is irrelevant. She's my family. Her name is Sarah, and she is a publicist, which is considered in the sociology sector. So, her job is to take famous people's images and dusty them up and make them look, or politicians, famous people, and take their image and build them up in the eye of the public, in the eye of the people, so that they look as pristine and as beautiful and desirable as possible. That way they can consequently produce a revenue stream that will benefit everybody subsequently. So, we're going to review trends in income and wealth and inequality over the past several decades, actually. Then identify and discuss 4 sources of economic opportunity in America. Think of them as building blocks for the gains in income and wealth that most Americans hope are within reach for them, who strive for them. The first 2 are widely recognized as important sources of opportunity. Resources available for children. We all need child care. I have children myself. And child care is wildly expensive because it's in such high demand. What does Mama Bear love the most? Her babies. And affordable higher education. That can be considered any kind of collegiate degree, whether online, in class, or mixture of both. Okay, the second 2 may come as more of a surprise. Business ownership, a lot of small business owners that the government is giving grants to get them started as a sort of investment. Like if we can get this small business up off of the ground and they can create a profitable revenue stream as they build, then that's going to mean more taxes to Uncle Sam. Okay, we've got to get our taxes paid. Okay, so that's why the government is taking some of the money, just a little portion, and giving to a lot of our small business owners, because a lot of them are becoming very, very, kerpow. There's this mass media associated, as it will be looking at, to get Skylar Gray off the ground. With more successful people backing them, which is the key. Dr. Dre signed Eminem on for all my millennials. Hey, okay. I was a child in the 90s, so if you're around about my age, you know what I'm talking about. Some shady records. But he was signed by Dre, NWA. So, we're going to be looking at who is Slim signing on now that he's just gone kerplow, even if it's not, a favorable or popular message. I certainly don't want my children listening to Eminem. But I grew up listening to Eminem. And he is like in our top 1%. So, the music industry being one of those sociologically discussed and profits, definitely a widening profit margin in today's age, a very, very popular source of revenue stream. Business ownership, inheritances. Like most sources of wealth, family ownership of businesses and inheritances are concentrated among households at the top of the distribution. Both of these are safeguarded and less concentrated and more broadly distributed than other forms of wealth. And there is some basis for thinking that they may also play a role in providing economic opportunities. Big bank take little bank. But there's discernment involved to a considerable number of families below the top, because we're not just going to give all our wealth to everybody just because they ain't getting it and we are. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. They've got to be doing something that would be considered reasonable for profits, right? And are they going to stay doing that? It's a gamble. We're not just going to give everybody our money. So, research about the causes and implications of inequality is ongoing. And I hope that this conference helps spur further study of economic opportunity and its effects on economic mobility. I do believe that these are important questions. I hope that further research will help answer these questions. Dr. Yellen's remarks. So, we've got Dr. Janet Yellen, Chair of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Dr. Yellen's remarks draw attention to the serious and pervasive problem of inequality and the closely related problem of inequality of opportunity. She emphasizes the main point that we will make throughout this chapter in Chapter 9. The opportunity to advance is disproportionately available to those who already possess above average wealth and social status. We will discuss the many sociological perspectives on stratification and see that inequality is pervasive in U.S. society. Is social inequality an inescapable part of society? How does government policy affect the life chances of the working poor? Is this country still a place where a hardworking person can move up the social ladder? These modules, and today we're going to be focusing on these types of difficult questions in society today that are circulating. And we're going to be focusing on the unequal distribution of socially valued rewards and its consequences on, their money. The people, the have and the have-nots, how is that going to be distributed and why? And to whom and for what for? We'll begin by examining 4 general systems of stratification, which to me, stratification, just think of layers. There's layers to the ish. That's what helps me remember the word stratification. Okay, paying particular attention to the theories of Karl Marx and Max Weber. I'm assuming that you know who those people are. Okay. We'll also ask whether stratification is universal and see what sociologists, including functionalists and conflict theorists, have to say about that question. C. Wright Mills being a functionalist, and the former two that I mentioned being more of the conflict theorists, being that they like communism, the communistic perspective on society. Okay, so we'll see what they say about these questions here in just a little bit. We will see too how sociologists define social class and examine the consequences of stratification for people's wealth, income, safety. Big ups, okay, safety is right up there along with Mama Bear and her babies, and Daddy too. And educational opportunities for all. Then we will take a close look at poverty, particularly the question of who belongs to the underclass. What exactly defines underclass and upper class? And why? And we will confront the question of social mobility and figure out what that even means, both upward and downward. And finally, in the social policy section, we will examine the issue of corporate compensation. The huge salaries and bonuses that corporate executives earn even when their companies are losing money and employees are losing their jobs. Ever since people first began to speculate about the nature of human society, their attention has been drawn to the differences between individuals and groups within society. The term social inequality, which has been much in the headlines recently, describes a condition in which members of society have differing amounts of wealth, prestige, or power. Some degree of social inequality characterizes every society. So this isn't just seen in our society. This is seen since the history of mankind type of thing. This has been an ongoing problem that we have seen in humanity, period. When a system of social inequality is based on hierarchy of groups, sociologists refer to it as stratification, a structured A structured ranking of entire groups or pecking order, of people that perpetuates unequal economic rewards and power in a society. I will not give any, I will not be giving any examples out of this moment because I have to move forward. These unequal rewards are evident not only in the distribution of wealth and income, but even in the distressing mortality rates of impoverished communities. Stratification involves the ways in which one generation passes on social inequalities to the next, meaning, what we discussed at the very first. You can't do what I do. You don't know what I know. How is it fair for me to give it all my wealth up to you just because you were born not in a low rank, maybe you were born with in a poor family like I was. Maybe you were born with no family. So, there are people that are suffering today that are in those types of circumstances. Okay, but there are incentive programs to the working class that will keep them working, and because they are needed, every kind of job that you can think of made available to Americans is a needed job, and one that any one of our Americans can fulfill. So we're trying to make those jobs available to us Americans first and foremost. Even if it's just, I don't know, think of something. Fill in the blank here. You think of something. Okay, my brain isn't, I'm just here to relay the message. Okay. So, we have reviewed social inequality, which is a condition in which members of society, I reiterate, have differing amounts of wealth, prestige, or power. So that's how we define social inequality. Stratification. A structured ranking of entire groups of people that perpetuates unequal economic rewards in power in a society. So, okay. Stratification follows the ways in which one generation passes on social inequalities to the next, producing groups of people arranged in rank order from low to high. Excuse me. Stratification is a crucial subject of social investigation because of its pervasive influence on human interactions and institutions. It results inevitably in social inequality because certain groups of people stand higher in social rankings, control scarce resources, wield power, and receive special treatment. As we will see in this chapter, the consequences of stratification are evident in the unequal distribution of both income and wealth in industrial societies. The term income refers to salaries and wages, interest on savings, stock dividends, and rental income. In contrast, wealth is an inclusive term, encompassing all a person's material assets, including land, stocks, and other types of property. So that would constitute your wealth, not your worth. Sociologists consider stratification on many levels, ranging from its impacts on the individual to worldwide patterns of inequality. No matter where we look, however, disparities in wealth and income are substantial. Take income and poverty patterns in the United States, for example. As the top part shows, in some states, the median household income is 75% higher than that in other states. And as the bottom part of the figure shows, the poverty rate in many states is twice that of other states. Later, we'll address the meaning of such statistics and where those statistics are coming from. Okay. Man, how much people are willing to pay for a song paired with an image, boom, thrown in your face, on the radio, on the mass media, on Pandora, on Spotify, on Twitter, on Facebook. An image and a message, or coupled with maybe a beat behind it. Okay. Okay, our 4 general systems of stratification that I mentioned earlier are slavery, castes, estates, and social classes. Slavery, castes, C-A-S-T-E-S, castes. Estates and social classes. As ideal types, useful for purpose of analysis. Any stratification system included elements of more than one type. For example, prior to the Civil War, you can find in the southern states of the United States, both social classes dividing whites from whites and the institutionalized enslavement of blacks. Basically being white on white crime in America about the issue of abolishing slavery, which I am happy to say is an Arkansan in the southern United States that I am very, very glad. Nothing against my southern kin. Glad that it happened the way that it happened. To understand these systems better, it may be helpful to review the distinction between a chief status and a scribe status. If you're a male, if you are older, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Japanese American, if you're Caucasian American, if you're American Indian, those are your ascribed statuses because Those are things that you have no control over. The mother, say, whatever your circumstances may be, we have no control over where we're born, whether we're born stamped with the X or the Y on the genome, which is why men happen to be born with nipples. I'm sorry to say, it's true. Had all men been stamped, had any man been stamped with the Y gene, they would have had purpose for those nipples to lactate at some point if they had been a willing participant in reproduction. So there we have it. Now, our achieved statuses, on the other hand, what are your credentials? What have you done? What has your family done? What does your name carry behind it? Those are your achieved statuses, some of which you did not achieve. For instance, we millennials are enjoying freedom, and baby boomers enjoying freedom from the X generation, mostly. And it came with a high price. So those are our achieved statuses, and a lot of us get to enjoy the things that other people achieved for us just because we carry on that legacy or get to share in that joy in Christ or with my family members in America. Okay, so now, slavery nowadays takes on a very different meaning than your ethnicity or your race. It means that you are you're taking care of your family, with a very kind of, you don't have to have, like if you have a felony on your record, McDonald's will take you in because they'll pay you, they'll give you a salary, and they'll give you opportunities to higher your education now. So, that distinguishes what is referred to now as slavery as opposed to Civil War times, way back in the day. So, it's actually always been an issue, as I said earlier. So, twice. That's wise. Alright. Today, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is binding on all members of the United Nations, prohibits slavery in all of its forms. Slavery does not exist. It has been abolished. It has been done away with. In ancient Greece, the main source of slaves was piracy and captives of war, so the spoils of war. What happened when Caucasian immigrants came through and said, "This is our land"? Sadly, American Indians were the spoils of war. And made into slaves. That includes the women. Pocahontas probably survived because she was pretty, and John Smith thought she was beautiful. And he said, I'm going to keep this one because I fell in love with her. So they're taught that the 1%, I'm getting off track here, but we are exploring different sides of slavery that maybe we didn't see before. So there is that. Oppression, human trafficking. That's slavery. That's a form of it. And it's going on right under our noses right now, sadly. And a lot of young people are involved, even right here in our own country. So slavery has varied in the way that it has been manifest. Today, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is binding on all members of the United Nations, prohibits slavery in all of its forms. So it is illegal. You know, a lot of it doesn't get. A lot of it doesn't even get spoken of, sadly, because there's a thing called victimless crimes, in which you are a willing participant for some reason or the other. If you were raped and didn't report it to the police, you're not considered a victim of that crime. If you weren't willing to go along with the trial, then you have no right to say, look, I was raped, for example. And a lot of people are scared and have different reasons for not coming out and speaking about these things. Maybe they fear for their children's lives or their lives if they do, because they're held in oppression. Maybe they're being held in oppression. So that's one. The second one, caste. Castes are hereditary ranks that are usually religiously dictated and that tend to be fixed and immobile. Caste membership is an ascribed status, as we spoke about earlier. You're born with it. It comes natural to you. At birth, children are automatically assumed the same position as their parents. Sometimes. In most cases. Not always true. Each caste is quite sharply defined, and members are expected to marry within the caste. The caste system is generally associated with a country besides America. Arranged marriages and things of that sort. So, okay. Now, on to my third point, estates. A third type of stratification system called estates is associated with feudal societies during the Middle Ages. The estate system of feudalism required peasants to work land leased to them by the nobility in exchange for military protection and other services. The basis for the system was the nobles' ownership of the lands, which was crucial to their superior and privileged status. As in systems based on slavery and caste, inheritance of one's position largely defined the estate system. So, on a large basis, the first two were contingent upon the third, whether or not you had a estate. The nobles inherited their titles and their property. The peasants are born into a subservient position within an agrarian society, or people that worked the land and had livestock. Agrarian. They grow crops. If you think about it, if you're like me, you have never stitched one piece of clothing that you've owned. You've never farmed for a single egg or a piece of chicken or a piece of beef. You have never made something that you've owned, like a backpack or a book. Maybe you have, but there are many of us that haven't, like, ever done any of those types of things. Never grown a vegetable. Now that I've done. I planted my seeds abroad. I like beefsteak tomatoes. Be that as it may, and sunflowers. A class system, which is my fourth point, is a social ranking based primarily on economic position in which achieved characteristics can influence social mobility. In contrast to slavery and caste systems, the boundaries between classes are imprecisely defined. And one can move from one stratum or level to another depending on your circumstances. So the boundaries between classes are imprecisely defined. So it's really a complicated thing to discuss or understand or discern. Even so, class systems maintain stable stratification hierarchies. Nevertheless, even if it's understood or it's not understood, it still is. And patterns of class division even. And they too are marked by unequal distribution of power and wealth. Alright, Gucci, I'm about to go to lunch, but I have covered my 4 sociological elements for today. And briefly going to go over the upper and lower classes. Ross adds characteristics about 1 to 2% of the people of the United States is upper class. So you take Eminem, Nicki Minaj, Jennifer Aniston, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise type people. Now it's like Seth Rogen, the 3 dudes that started out doing Workaholics. Right now they got a cool movie going out, or some would think it was funny. I myself, I'm not going to comment, but be that as it may, I'm going to remain neutral about this because it just is. This group is limited to the very wealthy who associate in exclusive clubs or elite societies in the top 1-2% of the whole United States. And social circles and exercise enormous political power through financial support of candidates and issues. In contrast, the lower class, consisting of approximately 20 to 25% of the population, disproportionately consists of Hispanic Americans, other ethnic groups, single mothers with dependent children, and people who cannot find regular work or must make do with low-paying work. This class lacks both wealth and income and is too weak politically to exercise any significant pull. Both these classes at opposite ends of the nation's social hierarchy reflect the importance of ascribed status and achieved status. Ascribed statuses such as race and disability clearly influence a person's wealth and social position. So, if you're labeled or stigmatized, that, hey, equal opportunity based on what you can do for a company. Can I get a amen? I'm actually Southern Baptist, so that was no crack against God. Big ups. But, however, it's very, very true, nonetheless. As it is not religious at all, it is very true. And people with disabilities are particularly vulnerable to unemployment, are often poorly paid, poorly viewed, and tend to occupy the lower rungs of the occupational ladder, even though a lot of them are very talented. Some just can't work because of whatever reason. Regardless of their actual performance on the job, the disabled are stigmatized as not earning their keep because they're looked at like by the people that work their butts off for very little, even, or a lot. It just depends, I guess. But that's a sensitive topic, and I remain neutral. I think if you can't work, by all means, go apply for disability. I'm not going to judge you, but that's not to say that America in general won't judge you, or them, however you want to look at that. But the fact remains that this is going on in our country. So we've got to take a good look at some of the issues that are going on. Middle class, sandwiched between the upper and the lower, upper middle class, lower middle class. That's kind of like saying brunch and dinner. I guess it's a level. The upper middle class, about 10 to 15% of the population. Wow. Includes professionals, doctors, lawyers, and architects. So, wow. Only 10 to 15%. That's almost as bad as the 1 to 2% of the top. Right at the top. So, wow. They participate extensively in politics and take leadership roles in voluntary associations. The lower middle class, about 30 to 35% of the population, includes less affluent professionals, elementary school teachers, nurses, healthcare personnel, and professionals. owners of small businesses, and a sizable number of clerical workers. While not all members of the middle class hold degrees from a college, they share the goal of sending their children there. So even if you wasn't born like that, even if you wasn't born with it and you still ain't got it, you still have the incredible responsibility of getting your child to daycare, which can cost you up to 70 grand a year, which is an enormous rate for somebody that makes so little, and that we do need, lest the Mexicans invade our country and take over all our jobs for like 2 cents an hour. Okay? For all you Trump haters, look at it like that. Because guess what? There's an army of them ready to go. Ready to go to work for very little. I exaggerated there, and to my Latinos out there, I'm a quarter Portuguese, so you can't tell me nothing. All right then. For the working class, Ross Side describes the working class about 40 to 45%, because that's a little better. So we're talking about millions of people here. These are our blue-collar jobs. Certain members of this class, such as electricians, may have higher incomes than people in the lower middle class. Yet, even if they have achieved some degree of economic security, they tend to identify with manual workers. And their long history of involvement in the labor movement of the United States. Of the 5 classes, the working class is declining noticeability in size, so they're decreasing. In the economy of the United States, service and technical jobs are replacing those involved in the actual manufacturing or transportation of goods. I thought about being a truck driver actually for the Creek Company, because they offer like 86 grand a year and then some benefits and things like that that are considered, one of those sanctions or one of those initiatives. Hey, we'll have your back covered. Just come work for us. Just do it. We'll even sponsor you. We'll get you your CDL license, which would have cost you like what, $600? I don't know, $600 just to be blowing on us to get my CDL. Heck, I wish. Choose. Okay. Class warfare. So, we covered our 4 things. We went over the classes of the big picture, the whole United States of America. Woo! Go USA! In Arkansas. Ding! Okay, Arkansas. Okay, slavery, caste, states, and social classes. So, as we have gone over these 4 things, in the general terms of systems of stratifications in the United States and some of the heavy issues that maybe have been glossed over with just some sugar sprinkles, but nonetheless are going on. All right. in my next series, sub. You better sub. You better give me my subs. Subscribe and like and hit that little bell. I know you want to because we're going to be going over. Oh, don't let me forget. This is this book I'm reading from Sociology in Module 4 of 4th edition. So I want to note that I'm referencing this book, which they reference like a quadrillion different other people too. So it's just an amalgamation of different people's thoughts and ideas, and very, very, very important and notable facts that I think everybody should exercise their right, not only the right to speak, but their right to know. It's right up there with our constitutional rights and our Declaration of Independence. Okay? So, get some of these books, and this one in particular happens to be pretty good. But you could see it live right from your. Okay, I've gone 50 minutes. I gotta go to lunch. I'm not good with goodbyes, so tune in next time for a surprise. This is D. Over and out. Call me Denise. Call me Miss Denise if you're nasty. Go Arkansas.